Welcome in, guys. Welcome in. So as you can see from the title, this is a 70 lap race for a charity. This is to help with the British Army esports sort of page, and they like raising money every so often to help out with that sort of stuff. So yeah, as you heard from the beginning there, we are currently doing a 70 lap full qualifying event for charity, and I enjoyed this so much. I thought I'd share it with you guys and show you guys exactly what happened here, because towards the end, as you can see from the title of this video, we gain so much time. This was probably the most insane comeback I think I've had on an F1 game, and it was just through chance really. And as you can see, we're already starting our first lap in Q1. Had a big slide there and we just could not recover from that, and we ended up doing a 12.9, which obviously this is Q1, so it is going to be a little bit slow, but at the same time we can go a lot better than that, and we actually do. You can see we slide a little bit, but not as much on our second lap in Q1, gaining quite a lot of time there. And I do have a car ahead of me as well. I wasn't exactly sure if he was on a lap or if he was on an in lap at that point, but I do believe he was on a lap. It's actually ARC Hoff who we're looking at right now, and here I generally can't tell if he was like giving me a tow or something like that, because he dives off to the left as soon as we finish our lap. So Hoff, I don't know if you were intending to give me a tow, but I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much for that. And what I'm going to do now is we're skipping all the rest of qualifying and we're moving straight to the final lap in Q3, because I don't want to show you guys all of the other laps because they're not really as important as this one. So we go to start it, and yeah, we cut the corner. We've luckily got just about enough time to do it again. So we go around and then we try again for our final lap here. I believe Crow was about a 10th off of my time, which was around about a 10.2. Yeah, it was a mid 10.2 here. So yeah, I wanted to give a little bit of insurance just in case that he ends up improving. So you can see first couple of corners we only gained about 700ths here. It's quite a lot of time to be gained through here. You can see we end up making up nearly 0.2 of a second. In fact, we did make up 0.2 of a second from that chicane, braking at the 100 for this one, and we take that corner very nicely, almost losing the car because we took a little bit too much curve for that one, but luckily we managed to keep the car in control, and now we're almost 0.3 of a second up to do a 9.9. Now I knew I could go a lot quicker than that, so I'm still pushing. I'm still trying to get that lap time just in case that there are people that will improve around me, because I didn't actually know the pace of everyone else going into this, because it is a charity event, so there's going to be people of all skill levels in this event. So I was just making sure that we secure our pole, and we have a very nice hairpin, gaining another 10th of a second or so, and now all we have is the wall of champions. Now this is very easy to invalidate, but I did I did try and do a little bit of practice just to warm myself up before this, so I felt as if we could do the chicane pretty well. We did. We gained another 10th, and we end up doing a 9.7, which did in fact end up being pole by, I believe, I want to say 0.6 of a second. Well, there you go. Yeah, 0.6 of a second. So that was a pretty good lap from myself, and I was confident in my pace going into the race after seeing just how far we were from pole position. There you can see me coughing. I've still actually got that cough. I've had this cough for about 2 months now, so been very frustrating from that cough. But either way, we move on to our strategy now, turning on the fuel, and I'm also going to be doing a hard medium strategy here. Now you in 100% you can do medium softs. In fact, actually, sorry, I do believe we go for the medium softs and not the hard mediums, but then I decided to start on the hards for some reason. I can't remember what the reason was. I think it was actually chat that told me to start on the mediums, because I wasn't sure whether to do the medium soft, or if I should start on the start on hard tires, sorry, and then do the mediums. Let's see what happens here. So we've got 8 seconds left. No, it seems as if it was just the game had picked the other strategy for me, and we had ended up starting on the hards accidentally. But either way, we've got 5 red lights, and off we go, getting a pretty decent start on the hards, considering it was the game that gave me these hard tires instead of my own choosing. I'm guessing I was pretty frustrated at this point. I don't actually remember just these first few laps here, so it'll be interesting to see what happens here. So yeah, getting a pretty decent start on those hards, and actually we gained a little bit more time than I thought. I thought Crow was going to be on our gearbox from the moment we got off the line, but that wasn't necessarily the case. We were actually keeping him back by a couple of tenths per second. You can see here going into turn 1, he gets very close to us, but again, luckily we're just able to take the line better than him. He's going to have a little bit of dirty air going through those corners, so it is going to give us a little bit of a buffer, but sooner or later those mediums are going to start firing up, and it's going to take so much longer for these hard tires to start firing up. So sooner or later, Crow is going to pass us. It's not the case of if, it's more the case of when. So I was just trying to stall the inevitable from happening. You can see now we're on lap 470. He's getting very, very close, and he actually decides to go for the overtake around the wall of champions. Now, personally, I'm not a big fan of people going for moves on me around this corner just because it's so tight, but at this point, I didn't care. I was just going to let him pass. And as soon as I let him pass, it actually turns out that he had been using all of his ERS, which gave me a little bit more confidence in myself and my pace, because I wasn't using as much ERS. You can see we've still got about 65% left, and he's already out. So this is a huge chance to sort of regain that position. Now, I wanted to regain the position in a place where I can really benefit from it. So as you can see, it's lap 5 now. So I was thinking, okay, we could just hold behind him for the rest of the lap. His mediums are going to allow him to get better traction, so there's no point overtaking him now. We might as well wait until the double DRS spot to make the overtake happen, and that way we can get a more definitive overtake, and we could potentially even gain a good buffer of time just from the fact that we would have our DRS open for a lot longer. He's not going to have DRS because he's currently leading the race. So yeah, this is at the point now where we want to overtake him. He does get good traction because he is on the mediums, but he doesn't have any ERS. So as long as we just use a little bit whilst we have DRS, we should be good. But it seems as if he was using quite low wings, or at least lower than me, because it was pretty fast in a straight line. So we actually go for the same overtake here, sort of getting our revenge. But honestly, probably shouldn't have done that, because I did want Crow to keep Jack behind us, because I didn't know if he had any ERS or not. And if he gets ahead of me with ERS on those mediums, it's going to be a lot harder to actually keep up with him than it would be Crow, who didn't have any ERS. So yeah, at this point, I knew I'd made a mistake. I was feeling pretty nervous here, because here he comes. He's very, very quick in a straight line. And yeah, there's nothing we could do here at this point. He's on the medium tires. However, after we go through the wall of champions, I see that beautiful red light start to flash right around about now. And yeah, I realized, okay, he also doesn't have any ERS. I knew he was a little bit quicker than Crow at this point in the race, so it was going to be a little bit more difficult to keep up with him. However, safety cars really helped, and trust me, when it comes to how long we stay on these hard tires, safety car did come in clutch throughout this race. So yeah, it's only lap 9. We're obviously not going to pit because we're on hards. But yeah, this is around about the time where the hards would be starting to fire up, really. So it kind of did kill the momentum a little bit, but at the same time, we are saving that tire life a little bit. So that means we can go further on in the race than intended. And I actually didn't know, but the hards can go really long at this track in a 100% race. So it's pretty crazy. I might want to try that strategy if we ever do Canada in the Creator Series. But yeah, as you can see now, safety car restarting, getting a much better restart than I initially thought. Again, these guys are all mediums. So right now, these mediums are super quick. Obviously, the hard tires are slowly starting to fire up, but they're nowhere near sort of like at their optimal pace as much as the mediums. And you can see that from the fact that Jack, as we get more into it, starts to build up a bit of a gap. As you can see, Crow goes for another move into a chicane. I don't really like when people go for overtakes on the chicane, because it's just so tight. You're almost always going to crash. And as we go into the hairpin, I get taken, well, not fully taken out, but I get clipped. And I believe that was Ryan who clipped me. And yeah, I wasn't necessarily too happy about that at the time. Just because obviously I was battling with Jack, and I was so focused on that I wasn't really worrying about everyone else. But we got clipped, and we just move on. It is an event after all. You're supposed to just have fun, and that's exactly what we did. So nothing happened for a while other than us passing Foggy, and I'm really just trying to catch back up to everyone. As time goes on, the mediums will slowly start to slow down a bit. So I knew that eventually the hard tires would be quicker, and there's a yellow flag, and it's actually Jack. Now, Jack was the quickest guy on the track at the moment, and you can see he has the fastest lap, and he's on a medium tire. So the fact that he made a mistake was very beneficial to me, because the people ahead of me, most of them was on the hard tires. So since we're on the same compound, I knew that with my pace difference, I'd be able to catch them up, and we can plan our sort of strategy of attack around what happens when we catch up. And that's exactly what happens. I'm now behind Goji. Now, Goji is someone I'm very familiar with. I did race with him in WOR earlier on in the game cycle, so I know what he's capable of. And he actually was the person who was the biggest pain in my side throughout this race. So I knew, okay, well, we can plan our strategy of attack around him, seeing what he does. If he goes for an overtake, then I need to get past that person that he gets past, because I want to stick right behind him and make sure if there's any mistakes that he makes, we can capitalize on it. And speaking of mistakes, going into the hairpin, you will just be able to see he goes wide here. I think he broke a little bit too late and he had to duck out the way of Sanjay, and we almost make the overtake work. We almost catch him slipping there. So very, very close, but at this point we sadly wasn't able to get the traction down as quick as him. Obviously he went wide so he can get on the traction just that little bit quicker. However, the DRS really, really helped. He slows down. I wasn't actually expecting him to slow down there, and it was because of the experiences we had with the other guys who would just go for the moves. So I was expecting him to go for it too, but he does slow down, and that almost caught us off guard there. But moving on to the next lap, overtaking Sanjay now, who's on the same compound, and we've actually caught up to Ryan, which is really good because he was the person that clipped us. So if we're catching up to him, it means that either they have made a lot of mistakes, or our pace is just that good now on the hard tires, that we were able to catch back up to some of the medium runners. So yeah, now it's time to try and pass Rocket Ryan and try and just keep going with what we're doing here. The pace is looking good. You can see that Mercedes, I believe that's Crow, who's in first place. He's quite far away from where we are now, so it is going to be a tall task to catch him up. However, as I said before, the mediums are eventually going to start slowing down, which means the hards will be the quicker tire and we can gain that time back in around about, I want to say 10 laps or so. So yeah, that's probably when they're going to start pitting and we can really do some pushing here. Now we've had 2 safety cars by this point already, which means the hard tires are going to go even longer than they usually would. I believe it's around about 40 laps or so on the hard tires, maybe 40 to 50 laps on the hard tires. When it comes to 100% race here, they do last a pretty long time, most of the race in fact. So yeah, if you're ever doing Canada 100%, maybe go for the 1 stop instead of the 2 stop, which is normal there. So as you can see, Ryan has just gone wide, and I've noticed that he has been blinking quite a lot here. So he doesn't have a lot of ERS to play with, and I believe Ham S in front of him didn't really have a lot of ERS either. I believe he was also flashing. So I thought, okay, we've got 33%. We can use a little bit of this ERS to try and put a little bit of pressure on Rocket Ryan, because we do need to get past these guys. Remember, Crow is still in first place and he's quite far ahead, so we need to catch up to him. So we go looking for the inside move here going into turn 1. Break a little bit later so we can actually be side by side going through turn 1. We go around the outside of turn 2. The hard tires are in their prime more than the mediums now, so we are able to get better traction than him and get ahead of him. But he does stick his nose in it for turn 3, so yeah, we give him the room and then we just make the overtake stick. Losing a little bit of time to James, but doesn't necessarily matter because the safety car comes out after that. Now I do believe that James does pit during this safety car and a few others as well. So yeah, I believe it's Crow, James, and I believe Rocket Ryan as well who pit. So yeah, we ended up in first place after the safety car restart here. So we got our good start now. We've got Sanjay behind us. So he's going to be a little bit of a buffer to Rocket Ryan, who is on fresh hards. We're now on 28 lap old hards. So obviously we're going to be a little bit slower as time goes on, especially after say about 5 or 6 laps. We're going to be slower than him, just necessarily because our hards are so much more worn than his. So just using him as a buffer, but sadly Sanjay doesn't necessarily stay ahead of Rocket Ryan for that long. So at this point, we don't have any penalties. Now, I will say we do get a lot of penalties in this race, which is partly the reason why we need to make such a great comeback towards the end of it. But for now, we're sitting pretty good right now. We don't have any penalties until around about lap 40 now. We've skipped quite a big gap because nothing really happens here. We're just pushing, and other stuff happens to the rest of the guys. Now Koji is behind me. He does end up catching up to me, and I believe he's already pit for another set of mediums. So this is his last set. This is what he's going to be finishing the race on, and he's pretty quick at this point. So yeah, he's got us up by quite a big margin here. We do have 3 seconds now, and yeah, at this point we're just trying to keep ahead of him, because honestly I'm enjoying this clean air at this point. So yeah, I didn't really want to have to try and follow him, especially since he is on much fresher and softer compound of tires. So keeping up with him would have been a tall task, and I felt at that point if we had to do that, we were definitely going to make a lot of mistakes. So yeah, I was just enjoying this clean air and I wanted to keep it. So I was using my ERS sparingly, and just trying to stay ahead of him, getting the traction down when we needed it, using the ERS to sort of help that traction phase. And then, yeah, it was working pretty well, actually. As you can see, we gained a little bit of time on Goji, even though he was 0.6 of a second towards the middle of the lap. We actually gained a couple of attempts on him, and now we're roughly about 7 to 8, maybe 9 tenths of a second in front of him, which is really, really good. So it shows that the hard tires are still working pretty well, even after 41 laps, and our pace is just pretty solid. I believe we're still going green in sectors here and there. Let's see what happens here. Yep, sector 1, we're still going green. So the car's getting lighter, the car's getting faster, and we're feeling good right now, especially in this clean air. We've got a lap car ahead of us, but that's not going to be too much of a problem. Obviously, he gets out the way when we catch him up. And yeah, we're just sitting in a really good place at the moment. But moving on to lap 50, you can see we ended up getting another penalty. So yeah, we're on 6 seconds now. Feeling a little bit more nervous because Goji's still sort of within that 7 tenths of a second gap. We've not pitted yet, and now we have 6 seconds. And I believe Goji didn't get any warnings until roughly the end of the race. So yeah, at this point in time, I was starting to feel a little bit nervous here. I didn't think we were going to be able to get the win, because if we pit, we're now going to have to build up on that gap that we're gonna have because of the pit, and then we also need to clear Goji by 6 seconds. I don't really see that happening. But anyways, moving on to lap 55, you can see we're going into the pits now. Still going quicker, by the way, as you can see from the 2 sectors. But what I decided to do is, since we have that 6 second penalty, we're going to have to catch up a pit stop worth of time and then clear by 6 seconds. I decided to pit for softs, and usually what I do when it comes to these 100% races is I always try to leave a fresh set of softs in qualifying, just in case there's a late safety car. I can pit for brand spanking new set of soft tires. So we do have this fresh set. So now, coming out of the pits, we have roughly about 17 seconds to make up in 14 laps. And then on top of that, we have to build up a 6 second gap after passing Goji. It's going to be a tall task, and it makes it even tougher from the fact that we ended up getting another penalty. So yeah, we now have 13 laps to get 14 seconds on Goji and then clear him by 9 seconds. I didn't think it was going to be possible, but chat was motivating me the entire time. I even had someone come in chat and say, if you manage to do this, I will become a channel member. So yeah, I was motivated to continue pushing to try and catch up to Goji. And you can see on lap 57 now, we're clearing time. We're actually catching up by quite a lot. Remember, Goji is on mediums that are pretty worn. By this point, his mediums are probably 25 laps, around about that sort of ballpark in terms of how many laps they've done. So yeah, his tires are going to be getting really, really slow compared to our softs. Now, usually the softs don't really last long around most tracks, but you have to remember, we're near the end of the race now, which means the car is lighter. That means that the tires aren't actually going to wear as quickly as it would if we had soft tires towards the beginning of the race, for example. So these softs are going to last a little bit longer. So we need to use all of these softs lives to catch up to Goji and just build up that gap. And that's exactly what we're doing. Lap 59, we've already caught up by about 4 seconds, and it just keeps going as the laps go on. I felt so confident on the softs. I was pushing, mainly because I wanted that guy to become a channel member, but we were pushing. And yeah, we were feeling good. As you can see now through the first sector, we're just gaining tenths per second per corner. Going through this corner now at the end of sector 1, this little chicane here, we gain about a tenth or 2 of a second through there. We've obviously got this lap car we need to get through, but I was hoping that maybe we caught him up towards the DRS zone so that we can actually gain benefits from that. Goji's not going to have DRS on anyone, so if we have DRS, it's going to be very, very beneficial to us. But I don't think we catch him up in time. I'm not entirely sure. Let's see. Can't actually remember where the line is. Is it here? Yeah. So do we have DRS? Let's see. I don't actually know here. It doesn't seem as if we do, but it would have benefited us a lot either way if we had that DRS, because then we would have just slingshotted past him. We wouldn't have to focus on him, and we can continue to push on to Goji here. But yeah, just about to go to lap 60 now, roughly about 7.6, 7.5 seconds behind Goji. So we've got 10 laps to go, and we still needed to clear him by 9 seconds after that. So moving on to lap 62 now, you can see, don't know where the pace came from. I think his tires just completely died out because we gained all of that time in like 2 laps. And now we're only 8 tenths of a second behind Goji. So now we have 7 laps to pass him and then make up a 9 second gap. So right now it's actually looking a lot more doable than it was just, 4 laps ago. So this is absolutely crazy. We've already gained an entire pit stop on Goji. That was like 17 seconds in like literally, I don't know, like 8 laps. That's crazy. So yeah, we were really quick at this point. We managed to catch up to him, and I was thinking at this time, I want to make the definitive move. I want to be able to pass him and not have him have DRS, and we have that sort of back and forth dilemma. So I was keeping behind him, waiting until we got to the double DRS zone, going into the Wall of Champions, just so that we can make that decisive move and we don't have to worry about him having DRS until the beginning of Sector 2. So yeah, we hang back and we make the overtake stick, obviously. Now we have DRS here, and he actually had a better exit than I thought he did. So yeah, we don't end up passing him here, but we do end up passing him towards the next straight. So that's exactly what I wanted, to be honest, because going into the first corner, behind him, I don't know, something could have happened and he could have ended up, you know, overtaking us. He doesn't have a lot of ERS, but nor do we. We make the overtake happen into turn 1. We have more grip. We're on the soft tires, and we make this overtake stick. And now it's hammer time, guys. We have 5 laps now as we start lap 65. We have 5 laps to pull a 9-second gap on Goji, who still doesn't have a penalty. We do have Crow behind us as well, but he also has 12 seconds. So as it stands right now, Goji's gonna win. And yeah, so I'm currently sweating right now. I am focused on just trying to get as much as we can out of these tires so that we can build up as big as a gap as possible. Still didn't really think it was possible at this point to build up that gap, but as you can see, it's only been like a lap or so and we're already 3 seconds ahead of him. So I think so as time went on, this is actually doable. We're 5 seconds ahead of him right now with 4 laps to go. The soft tires are very, very quick at this point, and the mediums are just slowly hitting the cliff. So he's going to be slower and slower as we get towards the end of the race. So this is definitely something that's possible here. 5.5 seconds now ahead, still on lap 66. So we're gaining tenths of a second as the sectors go on. He still doesn't have a penalty. However, we're just too quick at this point. So yeah, at this point, I thought it was pretty much a done deal. All we need to do is just keep it on the road and try and not get 12 seconds of penalties. But as we move on to lap 67 now, we're 6.2 seconds ahead, and Goji gets a penalty. I don't know what happened there.
He's got 5 seconds. Why?
Yeah, as you can probably hear me in the background saying he's got a penalty. I was so shocked about that. And then something, I think he ended up sliding or spinning or something happened to him. And yeah, we're currently now 9 seconds ahead of Goji, who does have a penalty as well. So at this point, we have secured the victory. All we need to do is just keep the car on the road. And yeah, we're on lap 70 now. We're 20 seconds ahead of Crow, who's behind us. We're absolutely flying. And I just wanted to take this chance to thank, I believe it was Carbon Shadow, who invited me to do this event. And yeah, it was a bunch of fun. I hope that they raised enough money to do what it is that they were doing with the event. And yeah, this was an incredible sort of race, especially towards the end of it with that sort of back and forth between me and Goji. Was I going to be able to catch him up? And if I did, was I going to be able to actually break that 9-second gap? It was a tense stream, so if you were there, I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this video with this commentary. And yeah, pretty much gonna leave it here, really. I just crossed the line, soak in that glory of winning the race, even though I didn't think at one point, for most of the race actually, that it was gonna happen. And yeah, we spin around, we do a 360, well, 180 actually, not a 360. It wasn't even close to a 360. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to smash the like button if you did, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.